Alright, I will, actually going to be waiting till at least one person shows up. It's usually kind of what I do. With live videos that are not me playing a game, because then I just start playing the game and people can show up when they show up. I mean, there will come a point if nobody shows up, I'll just do the video itself. But I like to at least wait and see. So you can always check the comments for a pinned comment about, hey, yeah. For skipping the wait period. And then once it's completed its processing on YouTube, I will use the edit to edit that giant portion out. So I think right now we should probably announce that we're live. I mean, let's go to old Twitter. Of course, it'd help if I had a link to the actual live event too. Link to the actual live event too. Alright, we're gonna snag that link to the actual live event too. Alright, we're gonna snag that link to the actual live event too. Alright, we're gonna snag that link to the actual live event too. Alright, we're gonna snag that link to the actual live event too. And then we will come to the community and be like, yo, we are live now. Oh, I think I'll add in the title of the video that we're going to be checking out as well. Well, it said I have one viewer, but that was just counting me because I was just looking at the live stream to get the link. See, there we go. 0. It's the nature of the beast when you're small. Well, I have 1,000 subscribers, so technically I'm not really small. I mean, I'm small compared to some, but I average maybe about, if I'm lucky, 1, 2, 3 viewers, depending on what I'm talking about or doing. Alright. YouTube says Jackal Goldkick is live too. Which, if he is, means he's probably not coming to my stream. Oh, he's sleeping. That's what he's doing. Jackal Goldkick is sleeping. See, I have a ceiling fan. So I have the cool air blowing down on me. Man, it's 9:59 a.m. Jackal Goldkick. You need to wake your butt up. Unless, of course, you were up real late, then, you know, take all the time you need. This might be out of context for some people, but he has a certain addiction. I'm not really going to get into details about it. You can go check out his channel for that if you so lingly desire. It's not like a drug or alcohol addiction. But he does these live streams and it helps him with that addiction. which makes sense because it's like if you know you have a camera on you and it's live, then you're not more than likely going to, you know, do that. Okay, so without making it look any more creepier, let's just uh I'll sit here, I'll probably wait maybe 15 minutes, and then if nobody shows up, I'll just start the video. So I get, you know, probably shouldn't just sit here in silence because technically YouTube is obviously recording this right now. So I guess I could like go over some stuff, at least for me on a personal level, I guess you could say. And let's go to Fire. Nope, wrong one. There we go, Firefox. So I basically got home and I switched hosting services for my writer's website. Well, pretty much all my websites. So I have to redo them. I probably should have did a backup of them because then I wouldn't have to redo everything. But hey, this is another hobby of mine that I've always had is building websites. So, you know, it works. It's not consistent. No, I did not design the look we're looking at. As a writer, I should be focusing on writing, so obviously I use pre-made templates. Should I ever actually get published and get some money, then yes, obviously I will, you know, pay someone to make a more unique design that fits my personal taste. I could do one myself, but like I said, I should be writing, not really website building. I mean, if that was my job, then sure. But it's not. So, yeah. This is just a WordPress theme that I got off a Forest theme. I personally like it because, one, it has, you know, this book thing going on, and then I can even, if I wanted to, insert an excerpt from a sample of whatever I'm working on. So that's pretty cool. So there's not a whole lot that's actually been done in ways of this website. In fact, if you go to it, there's an actual maintenance page that shows up for anyone other than myself, because that's how I have it. But I do have, you know, my blog is up and active. And yeah, here it is. And the reason why I separate this and my website from each other, because they're actually two separate WordPress installations. Well, kind of. Technically, the main one, this is what's known as a multi-WordPress site. So I can, you know, manage more than one from one location, which is what this is. Okay? But it's separate because WordPress is mostly a blog type site. So they kind of like, well, they still use a lot of outdated methods, if you ask me, in my personal opinion. I mean, I get that it's a WordPress, but a lot of people use it for, you know, your basic website building. So I think they should add in some basic default systems that just make sense to me. So, for example, if we actually go to my website, most websites usually have, say, a blog like right here, and then we have a news section. The only way to do that in WordPress is to create a category that's for the blog in the news, and I hate doing that. I find it very outdated, and yeah, just outdated within of itself. So, what I end up doing is exactly this. Create two, so this is my blog. And this is where the actual news is going to be located at. So the blog on this website is actually going to be the news within of itself. Now, granted, like I said, when I actually get money, I could actually have all this on one website. I would just pay someone to create a WordPress plugin that is similar to the blog setup, but specific for creating news. There's a few ways you can work around it to give the illusion that it's a news section, but yeah. It's one of the downsides of using WordPress. I used to use Joomla as well back in the day, probably way more than WordPress. But even Joomla in this modern age has kind of, well, it's kind of similar to WordPress, except it's more CMS, content management system oriented, than blog oriented. And honestly, I probably would be able to do everything I wanted to do a little bit easier in Joomla. But there isn't a whole lot of templates or themes that I like that are geared toward an author. So there's that one for you. Again, you know, I've also been building websites. Static HTML. I never got into like learning Java, JavaScript, or even PHP. So that's one part of the web industry that I could not do even today. I've even actually thought about ditching WordPress and just going old school with a static HTML website and making it look like it's a blog. Because I was Googling and researching that I could have a static HTML website and give people the ability to still like comment on it. It's just I would have to create a basic template to insert something like Facebook comments, or I think it's called Discus, I don't know, comments for the static HTML website. So I still wouldn't need any PHP. I've like thought about that a lot, just ditching WordPress and going old school static HTML, because that's what I've been used to, and that's what I know. But again, why don't I do it? Because I should be writing, not building websites. So yeah, I'm also working on, I don't know if it has maintenance mode activated or not. No, it's not Microsoft. Oh yeah, MTX News. I haven't done anything with this. Oh, it'd be nice if you could see it. I haven't done anything with this because the template I wanted to use, which is the one we're looking at, we couldn't get it to work or function on my hosting service. And I probably could go to my hosting and create a support ticket. I mean, I might do that after this video. But I've also thought about using a different look and feel. Again, why aren't I just building my own? I'm a writer. I should be writing. So there's that. Like, if my writing career takes off and I make a decent amount of money, then yes. You know, when it comes to my writer's website, I'll have a custom design made. And even for this more hobbyist website that I'm doing, which is supposed to be geared around microtransactions, a new site for microtransactions within the gaming industry, because most other gaming sites don't really focus on that. So there's that one. And yeah. Okay. We're almost at 15 minutes and no one showed up. It's roughly like about 10 a.m. or almost 10:09 right now. But that's one of the key issues with doing a live video in the morning is, you know, people may actually be sleeping. All right. Like we just saw not too long ago. That was the wrong. This is the wrong one too, but I'm just like, go to YouTube. Dude, go to YouTube. Still sleeping. And that's the key of why I'm showing you this gentleman right here, is because, well, you know, it's the morning time, so I kind of expect not a lot of people to show up if I do a random video like this. I mean, I probably could get more if I actually announced it earlier in the week, which I probably should. But none thus. Yeah. Started streaming 5 hours ago, which would be roughly almost 5 a.m., you know, at least my time. I don't know exactly where Jackal Goldkick is. Okay. So, enough of this. It's been 15 minutes. We're just going to jump into the meat of the video. Now, originally I was going to kind of go over some old YouTubers that I watched, but a couple of them I have found that they didn't delete their channel, but they deleted all their videos. So there's no accessing their videos, or they privated their videos, which hopefully they actually did that, because that's the smarter thing to do rather than deleting, as I myself have found out within the past. So I came across this video from 11 years ago called Microtransactions. What does good monetization look like? Extra credits. And I'm just going to be we're going to watch it, and I'm going to give you my thoughts and opinions in regards to it. So, without further ado, here we go.
Hello. Once again, I'd like to welcome back our good buddy Aaron Siegel, who's here to help us do some talking about microtransactions. Let me begin by saying, CCP, why are you doing this to me? I'm trying to come in here and talk about the potential and positives for microtransaction game models, and you gotta go and just... Alright, for those of you who don't know already, a little while back, EVE Online adopted a micropayment system where you can buy clothes...
So, you know, right off the bat, he's going to talk positive about microtransactions. Now, I've only probably watched maybe about a minute of this video. So, and then I was like, hey, this is the video that I'm going to be giving you my thoughts and opinions on. And yeah, let's give him some time. Let's see what he has to say.
And accessories to make your avatar look cooler. Like this monocle here. As of the time of this recording, that monocle costs $70. I wish I was making that up. I'm sorry, I know we're always trying to be the calmer voice. It just kills my soul every time I...
$70 for that thing he just showed. And yet he's going to defend microtransactions. I'm holding off because I want to hear his actual arguments before I jump in.
I see a major company screw up microtransactions this badly.
I remember that.
It's not rocket science. James has been called in to do monetization design on a few projects, and yeah, it's tough. It's real work. But I mean, to bomb it this badly takes some real effort. And B, microtransactions aren't going anywhere. They're probably the way of the future for our industry. Steam recently implemented broad
this was
free-to-play
11 years
support.
ago, but they
We've
still
already
exist
seen the
today,
online
so
gaming
he
world
was
embrace the power of
objectively right.
microtransactions, and I guarantee you the next generation of PSN and XBLA will support in-game micropayments as well. Many people may rail against the emerging microtransaction trend, but in and of itself, I don't actually think it's a bad thing. When done well, I think microtransactions are better for the consumer and for the industry. They let the consumer try out titles before they invest, set their own payment scale, and potentially acquire assets that'll go up in price. And
now, to me, this is about as far as I made it in the video, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, how are you going to say that microtransactions help the game, and this is one of your arguments, because I mean it doesn't. That does not help the consumer in any facet that thereof, especially when he talks about how it can allow them to try the game. It's like microtransactions don't allow people to try the game. The only way we can try the game before it's released is if we get some kind of alpha release on Steam, which those are controversial within of itself, or whether we get a demo, and sometimes the demo isn't, finite of what the actual game will end up being. Case in point, you look at the Final Fantasy 13 demo, it's completely massively different than the actual release of Final Fantasy 13. So, microtransactions objectively don't allow people to try the game before they buy the game. So I'm not really sure where he was getting at with this, but I guess I'll let him continue and maybe he'll explain it.
They also let the industry avoid a lot of problems with piracy without having to resort to terrible DRM. Additionally,
No, they don't. You're fucking objectively wrong. Objectively wrong. You were wrong 11 years ago today, and that statement is incorrect today. Objectively. Microtransactions do not, in any facet that thereof, prevent piracy. You are smoking some bad shit in that statement. That's an objective fact. There's plenty of games that have microtransactions in them that people can pirate. Now, if you're talking like online type games, then you would be correct. But even those, to a certain degree, can be pirated. There's a reason why there used to be a classic World of Warcraft server that was not actually done by Blizzard. And I think there was even controversy for them shutting it down or some shit, if I remember that correctly. Because they wanted to do their own.
Transaction model allows developers to cater both to the consumer who wants to spend $5 and the consumer who wants to spend $500, rather than just trying to sell everything regardless of value to the consumer who...
What fucking person would want to spend $500 fucking dollars on a microtransaction? I like how this gentleman is just like, at his core, is making excuses. And not good excuses. He's just, it seems like he's just rambling things, throwing it out there, but not giving an actual, here's my proof of why I'm making this statement.
Wants to spend $60. And this is all great, but only if we do it right. But right now we seem to be heading in the other direction. Companies seem to be interpreting microtransaction to mean free-for-all gouge fest. And if we don't cut it out, that greed is going to get the better of us. Games that could make money in the current market will sink under the weight of untenable prices and player backlash.
Well in this
Granted,
video.
if we players keep proving that we're willing to buy $70 monocles, the industry is going to keep trying to sell them to us. That's our fault. But that's a much harder problem to fix, so let's just keep this focused on the industry for now. So, what do we need to do to make microtransactions work in games? First, let's handle the perceptual shift. I feel like I've been saying this a lot lately, but the industry needs to see players as something other than the enemy. Somebody at EA once asked James, "How many players who are not paying me do you expect me to buy bandwidth for?" James's answer was, "As many as you can get." Here's why. In a multiplayer game, players are content. We all know that no matter how good the mechanics of a game are, it's no fun to play if it's a ghost town. If you can't get a game or find players to group with, the experience withers on the vine. So if you're going to make free-to-play games...
That's not entirely true, though. All right? In fact, ironically, I was recently watching a video with Osmond Gold in it, and I forget the video exactly, but they were talking about MMOs, and he was watching a video on why most people that play MMOs don't even interact with other players. So, which is true. I myself, when I played MMOs back in the day, I rarely interacted with any other player. I'd see them on screen, but we would never interact with each other. So I would say that statement didn't age well either.
You're going to have to actually be okay with people playing it for free. After all, ask World of Warcraft players why they pay to keep playing or don't switch to a competing MMO, and the answer is often, because my friends play. We have to make playing for free actually viable in our games, and just accept some of the...
Again, like I said, It's actually been proven that there's a decent amount of people, probably more than there are people that actually play with friends in MMOs.
Associated costs. Because, you know, some of those free players may eventually decide to buy some stuff, but without them around, no one will be monetizing your game. Which brings me to my second point. Let players earn every type of currency in your game, even the ones they can also pay for. The Koreans have this down, and to my mind, this seems mind-blowingly straightforward, but it's something we have an almost universal revulsion to in the U.S. for some reason.
But
there's actually no good business reason to...
It also kind of depends on, like, how it's handled. So you look at Assassin's Creed, not so much their hexes. You can't earn them in-game. But there's, like, I think it was Odyssey that had like these special rocks that you could find, and then you could kind of trade those in at a specific store, where the random DLC that you could purchase with real money after purchasing hex credits, that you could spend those to get random items. But the problem with that system in Odyssey was that it's completely random. You can't just go there and pick and choose what you want from the online store itself to purchase with the in-game currency. Not to mention the in-game currency to purchase those was limited within of itself. So, although I do agree that it would be cool if these kind of games gave players the ability to earn the actual microtransactions currency in the game, the reality of it is that they're never gonna fucking do that. Because, one, they would make it very grindy. So people would just get annoyed and probably just spend the money to do it anyway. Yeah, there's probably going to be a few people that would take the time to do the grind, depending on how much free time they have. Like I myself, I have a decent amount of free time. So, I probably would do something like that. Grind for this in-game monetization money that I could get for free other than my time. But if it was too egregious, like if the percent value, like if I was doing like say I played 40 hours in a game kind of grinding, throughout the week, the days, whatever, and I only accumulated say 200 hex in Odyssey, it wouldn't be worth it. It'd be objective garbage within of itself. But no publisher is going to do this because, as we know, they want that money. And although there are people that would be impatient and bypass it, there would be people that would be patient and bypass it by, just sitting there grinding. Or there'd be a massive complaint and they would kind of fix it. It would still be egregious, but not as egregious. So it's one of those aspects where it's like, I agree with you, but logically, no publisher's going to do it. Especially in a way that would make gamers happy.
Stop free players from earning pay currency in games. You need to have it be a remarkably slow process, but there's no business justification for preventing someone from gaining access to all the items in your game if they're actually willing to put in the time and dedication to earn it in game.
That's now, where I disagree with him. He says it has to be a slow process. Fuck no. Hell no. Hell no. Fuck no. Fuck no to the 10th level, to the power of 10, to the power of infinity. Hell no. All right? You at the end of the day, honestly, so far in this video, you're just kind of sounding like a corporate shield. Because, although the vast majority of gamers don't really care for microtransactions, the minority is the ones that, are the whales that are purchasing this. Now, with that caveat, the reason why microtransactions are successful is not completely at the fault of the whales. It's also gamers who have this mentality of, well, I'm going to buy the game, but I'm not going to buy any of the microtransactions. That's them supporting microtransactions without ever purchasing a microtransaction. I used to do that as well.
Games first tells game companies that, they always recoil in horror and tell them that no user is going to pay for their game if they can just earn currency while playing. That is strictly not true. Giving away currency has 4 major advantages. 1, players feel as though the game is fair and it's not going to make them pay at any point. Many players are turned off by the idea.
You know, he earlier said that that they could make it a slow process to earn that in-game currency that you normally would have to buy money for, but no gamer is going to accept that. They wouldn't. It's irrelevant to the percentage. It would have to be a decent percentage. That way the player wouldn't feel like they are being forced to have to buy it. And I think that's ultimately what he's failing to rationalize or understand within of itself. And like I already said, he sounds more like a corporate shill than a gamer.
Of free-to-pay microtransaction games because of that nagging feeling that the whole model's just a scam to weasel more money out of you. But if players know they have the option to earn...
It is a scam. It is objectively a scam. There is no argument that you yourself could make that could rationalize that. Let's look at it in a different perspective. A perspective that clearly this video, and I haven't seen the rest of it, but I'm just going to make this statement now that you fail to understand, is that microtransactions are garbage. And outside of that, the more important part is that video games is an art form. No other art form has literal accessories to its art. You can't, no publisher, book publisher, Tor, HarperCollins, none of them have at any time ever purposely, willfully taken stuff out of the books to try to sell it to readers later to earn more money. No comic book publisher, whether we're talking Marvel or DC, has ever done this either. Hey, you can buy more panels, you can buy more pages for your comic book, and it'll add more content. No, none of them would accept it. The video game industry is the only industry that has literal accessories to the art, and art objectively should not have accessories to the literal art. That within of itself destroys your ludicrous way of thinking. And honestly, I've said it once, I'm going to say it again. The corporate shill thinking that this video is giving off to me.
All the store's items, and no one's forcing them to pay anything, they're a lot more likely to begin playing in the first place. 2. Using the in-game store and free-to-play titles is sort of a magic barrier for many players. It's something that seems difficult.
And granted, yes. All right, let me make this clear because he is talking about free-to-play games. Still, at that same concept, I'm a person who used to play free-to-play games before this whole microtransaction was even a fucking word in the video game industry. And they are far more egregious today, and even when this video was made, than when they originally started. I don't really think greed is a good argument for why microtransactions are good for free-to-play games. I don't think the idea of why they are good or how they can be good because they were once good at one time. We know this. We've seen it. But $70, $30. I think there was some space game that had a spaceship for $1,000 or some bullshit like that. That there's no objective argument that you could make that could justify those microtransactions, even in a free-to-play game. I wanted to, confirm that because in the beginning of this video, my mentality was video games as a whole, not just purely free-to-play games.
And unnecessary to many people until they actually use it. Across the board, microtransaction games report that as soon as a player uses the store once, they're way more likely to monetize again. Many of you may have had this experience with Steam or XBLA. Think about how much inertia it took to get you to download Steam and make your first purchase, or buy your first pack of DLC. Second time came a lot easier, didn't it? Number 3, if you've...
I don't know exactly what you're talking about, all right? Purchasing a game, digital or otherwise, on Steam is not the same thing as deciding if I want to purchase the microtransactions. That was a... Unless I misunderstood it, that was a horrible example.
balanced earning pay currency in your game anywhere in the ballpark of well, many players will eventually decide that their time is more valuable than the small amount of money it takes to purchase currency. Bam, you just converted some of your players into paying users. And the best part is that they feel more comfortable giving over money at that point, either because they're already deeply invested in the game, or simply because they feel the game's given them a fair shake. Again, the choice to make these purchases is theirs. The game never forced it upon them. 4.
Which
if you
most
don't
of them
this,
do.
You effectively
So that
exclude
didn't age
everyone
well in
without
this
a credit
video.
card or without disposable income. And that means you're often cutting out a big chunk of the 14 to 21-year-old players who make up such an avid part of gaming communities. Often, these are the guys who provide ancillary services to games, such as maintaining wikis and putting out YouTube videos. Losing these players has a big cost.
14
Next,
to 21.
never sell power.
Research,
This
buddy.
is seriously Microtrans 101. But we still seem to have this temptation to try to squeeze the maximum amount of money out of our players by selling them things which alter the balance of gameplay. This is the absolute quickest way to make players feel like you're taking advantage of them, because selling power really does force players to pay to play. After all, when you're balancing your game, which players are you going to cater to?
About,
the people who are monetized?
You know, it's also about the price of those microtransactions. That's what it's also about. You know, $60, $50, $80 for horse armor or some fucking bullshit. And, you know, granted, the caveat to that is gamers will bitch about it. And they may get the company to reverse it. But it's like, if they're really worried about it, gamers as a whole that don't support microtransactions in the sense that they have never purchased it or they will never purchase it again, need to make more of a stand than just simply that context.
Or the people who aren't. What you want to sell is convenience. Things like extra bank space and character loadout save slots. Those are great.
All right.
They're utterly
convenience. No. You're talking convenience about extra load space and all this. That is what we call a pay to make it easy, pay to win. Because if your inventory can hold more than any other player, that is an advantage. Like, now I'm starting to think that he's no longer a corporate shill. He's probably works for Electronic Arts and sucks the boss's dick.
Necessary, and at first every player feels like the default amount is going to be plenty. But sooner or later, anybody who's dedicated to the game is going to find it totally worth a few dollars to have some of those extra features. Even things like selling leveling speed is okay. It's not as good as selling more supplementary.
My fucking god. What a fucking shill. It's okay to sell XP boosts. That's an advantage. That's literally pay to win. Which he just talked about that shouldn't be done. But yet here he is making a fucking excuse for something that apparently he isn't unaware of is pay to win. It's the same fucking thing. Oh my god. Old Gamer Rant would have destroyed this fucking video way worse than I am. Be dropping F-bombs every 5 minutes.
Perks, but it just means that players blaze through the content faster. It doesn't unbalance your game or affect any of the other players. All it does is make it more convenient for some of your players to see the later stages of your game if they choose. Just never sell power. Next, always keep your monetization plan in mind as you build the game.
Never sell power, but you're okay if you sell something to increase my inventory. You're okay if you give me an XP boost. Which, ironically, XP boost is selling power. And again, greater inventory is an advantage from other players. So it's one and the same thing.
Game. You can use monetization to incentivize the type of player behavior you think will create the best overall experience. There are several Korean MMOs out there that only allow players a limited number of lives each day. Once they're out of lives, they have to pay to refill them, or they can't play until their lives refresh the following day.
Do you think somehow that's like new? That was like a Facebook thing before it was even a mobile fucking game thing. In fact, that's where mobile games got it from, was Facebook games. And that is garbage within of itself. No. The fact that he's defending forcing players to wait in order to be entertained by a game is hot garbage.
This ends up forcing the player base to get better at the game, which in turn, at least in the developers' minds, creates a better gaming experience. Likewise,
No, it doesn't. I swear, this guy sounds like he probably works for some developing company, and he's probably considered the brown noser in the entire office.
Zynga usually offers the player the option of paying or getting their friends to help, which encourages the player to bring in more of their social network and expand the community rather than paying, though arguably that one is a wee bit more evil. If you think about how you're going to monetize as you build, you can use it to make the game more enjoyable, make paying more palatable, and make the whole experience feel less disjointed and tacked on rather than figuring out how you're going to monetize near the end of production. You should also never, ever, ever split your community. Say you've got a multiplayer game and you only allow paying players to partake in certain
That's all
maps or specific
microtransaction
zones.
does, though,
You've
is
not
split player base. That's all it really does when you think about it in context. It's a split down the middle. Okay? Because there are people out there that have no respect for a gamer that will purchase microtransactions. All right? They think they're fucking idiots. They're part of the problem. They're garbage. So there's all microtransactions kind of split the gaming community within of itself automatically.
Effectively decrease the size of your community, but you've also cordoned off paying players from the non-paying players, which is a terrible idea. Because one of the best ways to get
That's how it
non-paying
is. I don't know
players
what
to
the fuck
eventually
he's
pay
talking
for
about.
in-game goods is to have them hanging out with the paying guys. Finally,
Yeah,
market
okay.
test your prices. For
Yeah,
God's sakes,
I'm gonna hang out with guys that purchase microtransactions. I mean, I probably would, because I who knows, maybe I have a friend that's purchased microtransactions. But that does not, I mean, I wouldn't end my friendship. That would be immature within itself, don't get me wrong. But I would definitely harp on him and his stupidity for purchasing microtransactions. But like a complete stranger I've never met, no, they're fucking idiots.
market test everything else. We market test the background color for our box art. Not thoroughly market testing a make or break feature like how much your items should cost is downright criminal. And yes, CCP, I'm staring at you through my monocled eye
And no
right
one
now.
ever does
And
it.
to everybody
so...
out there in industry land, no matter how good this business model looks, both in terms of earnings or even potentially better player service, just remember this. It isn't the right business model all the time. You wouldn't build an entire game and wait until the last minute to choose the input device, so don't do that with your monetization scheme either. Microtransaction games will be better if the microtransaction elements are built into the design from the ground up, rather than just being layered on top. That's the only way.
We know for a fact that microtransactions are planned before, during the development of the game. All right? So, the problem with this is usually we run into companies that will give an outrageous price. They'll put that information out there. They'll get negative heat for it. And then, of course, they'll reverse it and lower it a little bit, which then some people praise them, which I don't really know why they do that, because that's just a scheme that these publishers end up doing, because they know that they're going to get negative feedback anyway. So we might as well go outrageous with it, and then we'll correct it and seem like we're kind of the good guy.
It's going to be better for the consumer, the developer, and the distributor. But even if this is the way that most games end up going in the future, it's still important to make sure that it's the right tool for the job. Because some games are just always going to make more sense as subscription or pay up front style games, and that's never going to change. Anyway, thank you, Aaron, for helping us out, and thanks for watching. See you next week.
That was something, that was for sure. As you can see, I actually searched for why microtransactions are good because I wanted to see if there was actually an idiot out there that was defending them. Unfortunately, yes. I mean, it's an 11-year-old video, but like, oh my god. That was horrible. Let's see. 7 years later, and the industry is still going full speed down the wrong way. That's true. I immensely dislike paying for faster XP gain. Yeah, the fucking guy's a fucking idiot. Objectively. Oh, don't pay. We shouldn't pay to pay to win. That's bad. XP boost is okay. Yeah, we know who's bought those fucking kind of microtransactions. You fucking cheater. Microtransactions generally do not belong in full $60 games. 100% agree. I'm 100% agree. Giving this fucking bad boy a fucking like. It's amusing how 5-year-old video is more relevant today than it was when it was uploaded. Yeah, he still has many incorrect opinions and assumptions in it. I mean, granted, yes, it's still alive today, but that's a given. You didn't even need this video to tell you that it was not going to go away back then. It would only get worse. Do not sell power. Don't separate paying and non-paying players. Do not sell power. Allow all currencies to be earned in-game. Do not sell fucking game-breaking power. Laugh out loud. A $70 cosmetic was the worst thing ever. This video hasn't aged well yet. It is too real. Yeah, it hasn't aged well, that's for sure. The only people worthy of wearing monocles in the world, who really cares? I believe that microtransactions need to be limited to multiplayer games. It just doesn't make sense to put microtransactions into, say, a single-player horror adventure. I agree. I agree with that. I'm going to give that a like, too. Okay? To me, it's egregious, but it does make more sense for online games and multiplayer games. It makes objective no fucking sense for any single player game. Let's see. I know this is old, but I have a SIP, case in point, for separating the community. There was once a thing I liked a lot called demos. Yeah, those are rare. We don't get a lot of those anymore. I actually have a few PlayStation 2 demos. Some came with a few games that I owned, and some I bought later on eBay because I was like, hey, I want to own that demo disc because I enjoyed that game, so I'm going to get the demo disc for no other reason than, game collecting. Let's see. You should really do a follow-up to this story and see how it's progressed or degenerated based on your observations, especially with all the things going on with current microtransactions markets such as EA and Warner Brothers. Would be interesting to see. I wonder if he would still make excuses for it, because that's all he really did. He didn't really give any objective reason why microtransactions are good. Because like I said, the biggest problem with microtransactions is that video games is supposed to be an art form. Art does not have literal accessories to the art. And it shouldn't, objectively. Anyway, I'm done with this video. Nobody showed up, but it's, it's to be expected. It's 10 a.m., so people still trying to wake up, all that good stuff. I hope you do enjoy if you end up watching this video after the fact. And hopefully I'll see you on the next live video. Otherwise, maybe you'll see the next recorded video.